Red Mist is a controversial real-life bootleg tape featuring an unaired episode of the popular Nickelodeon series SpongeBob SquarePants. Like the long-lost yet recently discovered Suicide Mouse tape, Red Mist was purportedly created by a now-imprisoned Scottish animator, Andrew Skinner, for the series, who intended to pass the tape off as the Season 4 premiere episode instead of Fear of a Krabby Patty, and the episode features the death of Squidward. Red Mist begins with Squidward Tentacles, who was preparing to practice his clarinet. The sun shone brightly outside as SpongeBob SquarePants and Patrick Star played merrily, their laughter echoing through the neighborhood. Squidward, eager to refine his musical skills, wrapped his tentacles around the clarinet and blew, but was swiftly interrupted by a persistent knocking on his door. Irritated, Squidward stomped downstairs and threw open the door, only to find a traveling salesman, a Scottish fisher, standing before him. The salesman, with a troubled expression, requested a moment of Squidward's time. Annoyed, Squidward dismissed the man and slammed the door shut, retreating back to the solitude of his room. However, the salesman persisted, knocking on the door once again. Squidward, this time furious, flung open the door and demanded an explanation. The salesman, his sadness palpable, uttered the eerie words,
"The red mist is coming,"
before turning and walking away. Squidward, perplexed, returned to his room and finally began his clarinet practice, hoping for an uninterrupted session. As Squidward played several off-key notes, SpongeBob and Patrick's laughter seeped in through the window, yet again disturbing his concentration. Annoyed, Squidward rushed to the window and scolded the duo, explaining his need to practice for an upcoming concert. SpongeBob and Patrick earnestly apologized, their faces streaked with tears. Feeling uncertain, Squidward hesitantly resumed his playing, determined not to let any further interruptions ruin his music. Suddenly, the scene shifted, its colors fading into ominous shades of red. Squidward's animated eyes transformed, becoming uncannily realistic, with eerie red pupils. There was no audio, except for intermittent clicks and whistles that filled the air. The next scene revealed the theater where Squidward performed, yet the frames skipped every few seconds. The sound remained, but the crowd responded harshly, booing Squidward with a cruel and unfamiliar tone. To his astonishment, even SpongeBob and Patrick joined in, mocking him. Amidst the disheartening scene, the Scottish salesman sat beside them, also contributing to the scorn. Squidward, dejected, trudged back home, his head drooping with defeat. As Squidward walked through the empty background toward his house, time seemed to stretch on aimlessly for minutes before abruptly fading to red, lasting only for a fleeting moment. The next scene portrayed Squidward sitting alone in his room at night, his face hardened with a blank expression. Slowly, tears rolled down his cheeks and his sobs filled the silent room. The sound of a gentle breeze whispered through a distant forest, adding a haunting backdrop to his despair. The camera subtly zoomed in on Squidward's face, amplifying his anguish, while the salesman's laugh echoed in the background. In a sudden burst, the screen blurred violently, and a disturbing photograph flashed. It was a gruesome image of a mutilated child, with a photographer's shadow seeping into the frame. The scene transitioned back to Squidward, now sobbing louder than before, blood oozing from his eyes instead of tears. The salesman's mocking voice persisted, accompanied by the sounds of the wind, snapping branches, and the desperate cries of young children. The salesman's command to do it repeated, the anger in his voice intensifying. After a brief moment, another harrowing photograph appeared, this time of an 8-year-old girl, lifeless on her stomach, her innocence shattered. Returning once again to Squidward, the realistic red eyes stared piercingly at the viewer. The screams of children filled the background as the screen gradually pulled back, revealing Squidward holding a gun. Without hesitation, he placed the weapon in his mouth and pulled the trigger. Blood splattered across the screen, bringing the unsettling tale to a chilling close. The haunting words of "the red mist is coming" echoed once more as the screen faded to black. Mr. Hillenburg, the creator of SpongeBob SquarePants, was livid, consumed by anger and confusion. He demanded answers, sparking an investigation into the grim photos. However, despite their disturbing nature, no child from the images could be identified, and no clues were found within the physical evidence or date involved. Thus, the mystery surrounding the red mist remained unsolved, forever haunting the realm of Bikini Bottom and its troubled inhabitants.